video, we included Blueprint into our site and we learned a little bit about some of the built-in classes. Now, let's build a layout using Blueprint. Most of what we'll focus on here is the grid system, because that's the most important thing to understand and probably the biggest benefit of using a CSS framework like Blueprint. So first, we're going to use the class container to create what is essentially the div that will contain our entire site. Again, Blueprint uses a fixed width layout that is 950 pixels wide, and that's basically what the container class will do. So we'll make a div, give the class container, and then we'll go ahead and close that. Now, let's go ahead and add in a header that spans across the entire grid. So we'll add in a headline tag with span 24, and we'll close it, and we'll just say that this is an H1 header. Now, let's create a column that will contain some text. We'll make it span across half the page using the span12 class. So after our header, we'll go ahead and create a div with the class span12, and we'll put just a regular H2 here. And I'm just going to copy and paste a paragraph here off screen of some lorem ipsum text. And let's go ahead and switch over to the browser. And right now we have a blank page, but when we refresh, this looks pretty good already because it's utilizing the built-in typographic styles of Blueprint and it's lining up to a grid system. We can see this grid system in action by simply adding the class showGrid to our container. So let's go ahead and switch back over to TextMate, and on our container class, we'll add showGrid. And when we refresh, now we can see all of our columns really easily. Next, let's go ahead and add 2 more columns to the right of the one that we already have. So we'll switch back here, and we'll just go right below our span12. And we're going to add in a span8. And again, we'll put in an H2 header. And we'll put in a paragraph of lorem ipsum text. And I'm just going to make some space for us to work here. Finally, we'll go ahead and add one more to give us our total of 24 across. And again, I'm just going to add in a second level headline here and some lorem ipsum text. And we'll go ahead and save that. And when we switch back to the browser and refresh, this looks okay, but you'll notice that our last column has jumped down to the bottom. That's because it's adding 10 pixels of right margin, and there's not enough room to fit it into the 950 pixel wide layout. To fix this, we need to add the class last to our last column. The class last will remove the right margin on our column. So we'll switch back, and on our span4 here, we'll go ahead and say last, and when we refresh, there we go. Now, we can also have columns within columns, and we can fill out our existing columns with more paragraphs as well. So let's go ahead and try that. We'll switch back here, and inside of our span12, we'll go ahead and make 2 columns just below our H2 and paragraph. So skip down here, and we'll make a 3rd level header with the class span12, and we'll say that's an H3 header, and then we'll make 2 span6s. So just like that, and we'll put in lorem ipsum text, and we can actually just go ahead and copy and paste that. And we do need to include last on this div, because remember, it will be the last column within our span12 column. So let's just go ahead and switch back and refresh. And there we go. Now we have these two 6-wide columns inside of our 12-wide column. And we can also, of course, add in additional paragraphs to other columns, just as we normally would. So let's just go ahead and try that to see how that works. So inside of our span 8 here, we'll skip down and we'll make a 3rd level header, just like we did before. And we'll put in some lorem ipsum text. And there we have it, a multi-column layout that's built using Blueprint. We put this complex layout together pretty quickly, so you can imagine how useful Blueprint would be on a much larger project. That about wraps up the basics of Blueprint. In the next video, we'll learn about a very different kind of framework called Compass.